I'm really sorry for that. We would, when the speaker comes up, she would continue. I'm really sorry for that short delay.
It's all right.
Maybe what you can do is just send the link again into those to the various groups so that people who have not even joined for the first time can join again.
Eziokwu m mechakwana anọkwa m na meeting biko.
Mr. Ebuka.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, I would like to plead that you be conscious of persons joining in as soon as they come in, so you can just try as much as mute them. Most persons are likely not to be aware of them having their mics on, and it kind of disrupts the
yes, I am. Okay, so I'm actually doing that. I'm actually doing it, but you know, sometimes since I can mute them and they cannot mute themselves, so when they find out that I have muted, when they do not know I've muted them, so sometimes when I mute them, they will still unmute themselves again to be sure that they can hear, and so that's why it's causing the hold up. But it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. We all learn.
I understand.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's it. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much, Mr. Solomon. Mr. Solomon, I hope you are a member of LIFIN.
Yeah, I'm an associate.
Oh, that's very wonderful. Thank you very much. So we are just waiting for those that are back to this meeting. I want to welcome you once again. We are really sorry for the let me on my video so you guys can see how sorry I am. We are really sorry for the slight delay. Zoom has decided that we only have 40 minutes limit for certain events. So sadly our own falls under that event. So but once our okay, our speaker is back. If once she connects to our audio, then we start. Please, we should not forget to off our mics. I'm seeing Mr. Philip or Miss Philip. I don't know whether it's male or female, but Philip, your mic is still on. Please, if you can kindly mute it. So Miss Rachel, you can come back on stage. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Ebuka. So, like I was saying, I would love us to note that the discussion of having mediation married to juvenile delinquency is to birth a reformed juvenile justice administration. So I would love to provide the definition of mediation so that we'll understand better. Mediation has been classically defined as the intervention of a third party who is called the mediator between two or more sides in a dispute by helping them to identify their interests and blockage in an attempt to help them reach an agreement or a settlement. Because of its inherent individuality, mediation offers a practical and potentially high successful approach to juvenile justice. And this has been tested. We are not just talking out of the blues. From models of countries that have incorporated mediation into the juvenile system of justice. When combined with a structured competence development program, this hybrid is likely, that's the approach, is likely one of the best options for the reduction of chronic repetition of criminal or antisocial behavior or recidivism. So I'll cite some certain examples being given by some psychologists. for us to understand its practical effect. So Brizena 5 has considered juvenile delinquency as an engagement in problem-solving strategies by offenders. These assertions mean a young person lacks the ability. Please kindly mute your mic. Thank you. Okay. So a young person lacks the ability to engage in normal problem-solving strategies, such as talking to the other party involved in a dispute or simply lacking the knowledge of something else to do. 2, where a youngster can engage in behaviors that he or she believes will achieve a desired outcome, which are likely avoidance or escape of negative situations or outcomes. 3, where the youngster has seen some level of success in this past by engaging in these behaviors, in which case the practice of mediation between an offender and object or of his or her problem arousal can effectively address the counter. That's the first two that we stated above. So a psychologist named Ram asserts that when adolescents are attuned to how their behavioral actions may negatively affect their core values, they are more likely to engage in behaviors that will not lead to a decline in what they need to become happy, content, and satisfied in life. This will make a youngster who has identified his or her interest in terms of maintaining these core values decline in delinquent offenses. So, delinquency mediation can allow offenders to see how their behaviors and beliefs are aligned with attainment of these core values. Therefore, if this happens, and if the mediation in juvenile delinquency is highly successful, then there will be a reduction in offending behavior patterns, which will naturally flow because of risk identification, which the mediator will help the child to identify. Again, in an emerging theory of the reduction of juvenile delinquency to be discussed is that of Brick 7 and Co., which focuses on self-serving cognitive distortions. Self-serving cognitive distortions can be considered in Brick 7 and Co.'s model to be those thoughts, cognitions, and ideas that make delinquent behavior acceptable for the offender. For example, now let's say an offender may steal a car, and if asked, he or she may say probably it's because the owner has another one, or the owner isn't going anywhere tonight with the car. So from the above, according to the model I've stated, if a youngster can interpret his or her feelings and beliefs in a more conjoint manner with the car owners, delinquent behavior will not occur. And building apathy is seen as a necessary factor in achieving this congruence, which I've cited above, right? So mediation again in this scenario is fundamentally geared to the attention of the needs of each party. If we all understand how the mediation process is being conducted, you believe in what I'm saying now. So in this case, the mediator will work to explore the underlying interest of the potential offender to offer the offender a chance to reduce self-serving cognitive distortions through the understanding of the other party's concerns. So as applied to juvenile delinquency, psychological investment and cognitive dissonance reduce a rehabilitation strategy when they have freely and actively engaged in the development of the strategy. Such is the case in a mediated individual resolution plan. So I hope we're following. If I'm a bit fast, you can call my attention to it.
Yes,
Okay, you are following very well.
Okay, so by leading them through a mediation process, that's the juveniles, mediators may advise or engage delinquents into practical sessions or training that helps in transcending one's own goals for the good of the common group, for the good of the group in entirety, and on a shift from attaining immediate gratification to success for long-term purpose. That means the delinquent, the juvenile will think of his neighbor. You think of the next person close to him whenever he is conducting himself. So essentially, before I forget, I would like to tell you that another link to this integration is seen in the victim offender mediation, which started long ago. I think somewhere in Colombia also. It strikes a balance between the victim offender mediation, actually strikes a balance between the victim and the offender to have the opportunity to reconcile and mutually agree on restitution. Though it has been shown that most times the victims are not, like very satisfied, but it actually helps. So one of the spirits of the need to integrate mediation into juvenile delinquency is to rehabilitate young offenders in the hopes that the target of intervention should large part be to develop this and community act can be attributed to family behavior or peer influence, etc., subjecting them under a very rigid justice system will defeat the philosophy of rehab. This is even evident by our young people. I mean, like adults, talk more of children. So mediation is a field that is expertly and uniquely positioned to help reduce recidivism or the constant repetition of antisocial behavior in juvenile justice. As a standard of practice, which I believe we all are aware of, even if we're not, we should know that mediators act to identify the individual needs of those who come for resolution of their conflicts. Mediators also help uncover underlying motivations for behavior, ensure that participants learn to address both current and future conflicts with the best approaches known to them. Mediators also helping to acknowledge motivations that lead to happiness, contentment, satisfaction, etc. And most significantly, mediators help confront beliefs that lead people to act in ways which may not be in sync with the reality of others, so that of others that they come in contact with, so that they can adjust. So by the very nature of a child, we know definitely a child needs a mediator more than how he or she needs a judge sitting up on the bench, on the bench and passing rulings. So in essence, my departing words, I would love to buttress this, and the law should not only create a special legal regime for the young person offenders, but should also create a special dispute resolution system like mediation into such proceedings, since they are highly vulnerable and the conventional justice system has proven to be reluctant in upholding the intendment of the rule of law because of rigidity, delay, like I said earlier. And because we have already established that deviant behavior of a child, most especially, cannot be studied independently because there is actually a high level intercourse between that juvenile delinquency and factors into society like poverty, poor parenting, family instability, inadequate educational opportunities, poor health care, psychological composition, etc. So what this now suggests is that keeping them under harsh and technical atmosphere might not lead to achieving the desired goal of this particular justice system. It might interest you to know that ADR mechanisms, most especially mediation in particular, also has an intimate relationship with a person's psychology and personality. So therefore, it is more suitable to be infused as one of these various facilities adopted for juvenile justice system in order to achieve the spirit of the justice system, which includes but not restricted to reintegration, rehabilitation, reformation of the character of our children, so that they can become better members of the society and contribute immensely to the growth system of the society and even the future. So I believe that with the future that I've been able to point out the need while the Nigerian government, stakeholders should look into this issue in order for them to bring a more suitable facility or means in which dispute, the prosecution of children will be done in a more amicable, in a conducive, friendly atmosphere, so that children will resist or will refrain from antisocial behavior in the future, and which will also build them. Thank you.
Wow, that was very nice, Rachel. Thank you very much for that very wonderful submission that just made about reforms of juvenile law to reflect mediation and other ADR processes into our justice system. We sincerely appreciate you for those kind words, for those very erudite submissions. My pen and paper, my pad is very full already. I've been able to take important points, and I also know most of us. So thank you so much for that very wonderful submission. And we, of course, had a suggestion that there should be a special mediation process for children, and that the court should incorporate ADR for the prosecution of young persons. And that is the core of her submission this very evening. And that's exactly what we advocate at this moment. Since children are susceptible to change, since they're still growing to adulthood, they need to be guided. They need a process that will usher them into that adulthood. And trying to use the same standard or the same measure that is meted to adults to handle children will be better to the society society, it's reviewing the situation the more, and that's exactly why it's very important to include or to incorporate mediation into the prosecution of young persons.
I think maybe his service has finally given in, and so I think I'll take over until he comes back. I would like to thank the speaker once again. You did an amazing job. She spoke about resisting. I can't even pronounce the word. You did very nice pronouncing that word. I've always tried to learn how to pronounce it, but yes, but it doesn't work out. But I think just to add just like a couple of lines to what she has said, I believe that the problem with Nigerians um, delinquency when it comes to young people is the inability to stop them from repeating the offense. It's not a Nigerian problem, but it's very much more in Nigeria. And that's because we don't have any system that manages the problem from the onset. And so mediation, as she has said, will be an important aspect because mediation will teach these children how to manage conflict so that they don't get into street fights, they don't get into delinquent behaviors. And so I'd like to thank you for that. I also like to thank you for some of the things that you brought out, especially the lacunas in our laws in relations to the fact that we have wonderful laws that pertain to juvenile delinquency and how to make these children not to go back into their ways, into the negative social values, but we don't have in practice those things that will help to implement it. And that is why I've always said that one of the most important places to take ADR to is not our universities or our higher education, but it's the secondary schools where these young people learn ADR from the very beginning. If you can even take it as a basic course, if you can reduce it down to a basic course and take it to the primary schools, these are the people that need it. Because if we are able to start moving in to the younger generation and teaching them more about how to manage their dispute, or alternatively, rather than fighting, I think it will help us very much. So I'd like to know if anyone has any questions. So we know, for those of us that were here earlier, we know that if you have any question, just signify by raising your hand. There's a button there you can press, and then you'll be able to raise your hand. So please signify by raising your hand, and then Ambassador Rachel Ibrahim will answer those questions. So please, you can raise your hand now. Then once you raise your hand and I can see you, then I'll ask you to ask your question. That is to unmute yourself. So do we have any questions?
It could be questions, it could be comments.
Yeah,
so if you have
comments,
comments,
yes.
if you
okay, so our LIFIN associate Solomon has a question. So please, Mr. Solomon, you can unmute yourself so you can ask your question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibuka. And thank you very much to our speaker. I am so proud to be a fellow Abusite, like having a fellow Abusite come to an internationally recognized platform or forum to give a presentation. That's just by the way. I was going to ask, I really did not get if our speaker was able to pinpoint or handpick some recommendations that could be prescribed to the sick Nigerian juvenile laws. I really do not get if she has any recommendation as regards that. So I'd like to ask if at all she must have mentioned it and I wasn't all that attentive.
Okay. Thank you, Solomon. I'm grateful. And thanks for the question. Well, the topic today is actually sorry, please. Can you? Yeah, thank you. So the topic of today is actually addressing one of such recommendations, which is infusing or integrating mediation into our juvenile justice systems. Probably one question you should ask is how then? That's why we said our laws should be reviewed to incorporate this mediation. Besides, it's not alien to juvenile justice system. It's something that various states have adopted, and it's working out well for them. And aside that, we talked about special courts, special police stations that should be put in place for children. And it's not as if we don't have this in laws. We actually do. That's why we said that there's a strong factor which we all are aware of, that we have beautiful regulations in black and white in Nigeria, but we are not implementing. There's no means of enforcement. So if these laws are being enforced or implemented, I believe that it will be better for our children, right? And it's high time we started giving attention to them. Because if you look at our present age, you realize that children are committing crimes that even adults won't commit. So where does the future of the country lies if at this state they are doing this? So it's very important we pay attention to the children or the juvenile justice system or administration. And one of these recommendations that we are saying, or some of them, is integrate mediation to be able to talk to these children, integrate it. Like I said, they need a mediator more than how they need a judge. Even adults struggle with the conventional litigation system. Talk more of children. Then we said some of these provisions in the Nigerian Child Rights Act should be implemented. We shouldn't just have them as laws without them acting. So yeah, I just hope I answered your question.
Oh, yes, you did. Thank you very much.
And sorry, please, Solomon. Ibuka said a very important thing. He said that, and one of our speakers too did, I think today in the morning or yesterday, that we need to start incorporating mediation or ADR entirely into our syllabus. Like children in school, starting from primary school, should be trained. Like they should know, they should have a knowledge about these things so that they will have a better way of dealing with issues. Like when they have a problem with their friends, they know how to tackle it, not that they'll beat up the child, or in fact some of them can go to the extent of killing. Do you understand? So we need this to into, like, we need a process of enlightenment, sensitization, awareness, even in our academic sectors. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Rachel. I would like to thank you for that answer. And also, sorry, I also like to say that at the end, the end post, we have what they call juvenile courts in Nigeria. We have juvenile homes in Nigeria for those young people that commit offenses. But I feel like what Ambassador Rachel is talking about also is the fact that you put these children in those juvenile homes, and then after they come out, they commit the same offense and then go back to those juvenile homes. And so mediation will help them to see the problem and make sure that they do not come back. That's why she was talking about that word I still don't know how to pronounce. But that's why she was calling that, because that is you going back to an offense that you have committed before. So if we have mediation, even conciliation, even negotiation, if we practice ADR processes with those young people, they will be able to see at the first instance, even if they commit those offenses, that this thing I did is not good, and so I would not do it again. So I would like the president to come up now to give his closing remarks and end the program for this year. Thank you very much.
I think we should entertain some more comments. If I will know that Asabe, are you disposed to comment? Florence was, so I can see Dr. Rema, I can see colleague, I can see Solo. Okay, Ezekiel, And I can see a couple of us, Grace, and the rest. If you have any comments, you get them. And but if you have comments, I really appreciate that. We'll add one or two words to the discussion of this evening. Do we have comments?
Okay, please, if you have comments, just raise your hand. We, just like the first time, we have limited time. I think we have 5 more minutes. So please just raise your hand so that we know you have a question or a comment or just something to say about how you have seen the event for the last 2 days and 3 sessions. Mr. President, I think nobody has any, because I can't see any hand raised and nobody is on their mic.
Okay, that's very nice. That's very okay.
Okay, so
obviously we've had.
Remember,
we've had 3 days. We've had 3 days of intense ADR discussion, and we are very proud. We are very happy with our speakers. We are impressed, very impressed with their presentation. I think this is better than what we've always had. In 2018, when we first had the ADR conference, we never anticipated that it was going to get this better. But here we are today. We had our speaker yesterday from India. We had Negotiation Powerhouse, director and president, the lead consultant speak to us. We also had the course director speak to us. And today we have Ambassador Richard speaking to us also on ADR and on very different topics, very interesting topics of serious concern. The first one was on ethno-religious conflict. The very second one was on skills and strategies for success as an alternative dispute resolution practitioner. And today we had another segment, another very important part of it, which is mediation, which integrates mediation into the prosecution of young persons and then juveniles. They need to review Nigerian laws. Of course, we have family court, we have juvenile homes, and we have special courts that are designated to handle issues of children and young persons. But then the advocacy that we are trying to push this in is that they should incorporate mediation before a full-blown prosecution commences for any young offender. I think they should have tried mediation. They should have tried some form of conciliation or negotiation. The victim offender mediation, the juvenile or delinquent mediation should first have been applied, so that we get to talk to these young persons, identify their interests, and
Ebuka, I think someone has something to say. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Hello,
Sorry, please, if you
Ebuka.
have something to say, just unmute your mic, Mr. or Mrs. Asabe Phillips.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Before my network went off, I was appreciating our speakers, and God bless you for a wonderful session with you. Now we have my handles on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. You can calculate, you can browse, you can search us or try to find us on any of these platforms. Try to also join the Telegram group of Legal Idea Africa as we share on the comment section, and also try to send probably your number, your phone number, try to communicate us via email so that we're able to add it to our numerous WhatsApp group. The content of this very annual conference will be shared very soon, and all the publications will be shared on our website. So try to visit as often as
Okay,
you can.
hello, Chibeze. We
Be
can
able
hardly.
to
Chibeze, hello.
get some of these materials and some things that we shared in this conference.
Okay, so Chibeze, we can hardly hear what you are saying. I don't know if you can hardly hear what you are saying.
Sincerely
I feel like maybe what you are saying is what is coming through now. Okay, Chibeze, we can hardly hear what you are saying, but we want to thank you. We have somebody that raised their hand. We have very limited time, so within 1 minute, please, Mr. Phillips. I'm still calling you up to come and speak because you raised your hand a while ago. I don't know if you are here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, is it Miss? I'm very sorry if I've been calling you Mr. Since. Okay, so yes, please, can you give us your comment?
No, it's fine. I just wanted to appreciate the organizers of this conference. I want to say thank you. It's an opportunity for someone like me today. I learned a lot and I have improved, and I'm very grateful. Like, I've never thought of, the child and mediation, like the juvenile, and you talk about mediation with that. I really learned a lot and I'm grateful.
Okay,
and I know now that it's very essential for us to train, to study, and to practice. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you very much, man. Dr. Avemo, I think, please, we just have barely 2 minutes. So just give us a short word before we close. Dr. Avemo, I can see your hands up too.
Thank you.
Sir, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just within 30
can you
seconds,
hear?
please. Yes, we can hear you. Just give us something within 30 seconds so we can end the meeting, sir.
Yes, let me lend my voice to appreciate this organization for this wonderful conference. And again, just on this recommendation of the thing, I think the willpower, lack of willpower, part of the government is one of the bane of this particular problem we'll be discussing. Yes. And again, the civic education we have in secondary school should inculcate this ADR.
Yes, that's it.
Recently, the federal government introduced civic education. At least should be more of ADR, and not just on ADR. At least juveniles should be able to know even some of this philosophy behind the criminal punishment, so that when they have this idea, it will be better for them to be able to to have a routine in future, taking part in future criminality. That's just my submission, because here network has not been friendly, has been cracking, but I've just been trying to get along. That's my submission. God bless you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Chibeze, you can continue.
Yes, I've also had a little challenge with network, but I think it's getting pretty better. So thank you so much for everything. We sincerely appreciate your efforts, and Ebuka, thank you so much for hosting it from your own end, and every other person that have joined in and have also contributed. Solomon, Asabe, Grace, Etendo, Kolika, and the rest. I can see very many of us. I say thank you so much for making our time to be here. I will believe that we'll have something like this next time, very soon, on a different aspect, on a different topic. So it's goodbye from us here. Thank you for this very session, and then for every person that helped in organizing it, our entire LIFIN executives and the committee. We say thank you very much for everything that you've done to make this event a success. We wish you the best, and we pray that our recommendations this evening shall get to relevant quarters, and that would continue this discussion on mediation and have a pleasant night's rest. Let's do it some other time. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. We appreciate.
Just
Thank you. Bye.
it would have been nice if I saw